The following is brought to you by the Social Suplex Podcast Network.
This is John Silver, lead recruiter of the Dark Order, and you are listening to All Things Elite.
Welcome to the 186th episode of Social Suplex's podcast about AEW with a proclivity for positivity. Welcome to All Things Elite. My name is Austin Sumwitz. I am the host of this lovely show. And joining with me, as always, is my good buddy and friend, Floyd Johnson Jr. Real quick, how are you doing?
I am perfect. I leave for LA tomorrow, so I am at work and mentally checked out as pretty much as hard as I can check out. I keep forgetting I'm actually working. I'm like, I don't even look at, I'm done. It might as well be 6:05 a.m. because I am done working right now.
Yeah, it just gets crazy. Mania season, it's wild. But we are not only joined by Floyd this week, we have our good buddy, JR Perez, the Lucha Professor himself. He is here. JR, man, how are you doing?
I am good. I am also mentally checked out. I actually tapped out yesterday about 4 o'clock from work. I told my boss I'm done. I'm exhausted. Only 2 days into the work week, and I was like, can't do this anymore. I leave for LA tomorrow as well. I'm hopping on a public transport to get myself down to Southern California for the biggest week in wrestling and one of my favorite weeks because it doesn't matter what company you like. There's something for everybody there when it's WrestleMania week is around.
Yeah, the entire wrestling world just descends on that wherever WrestleMania is. So it's going to be a huge week.
I do want to throw out that I was a guest on a podcast this week, One Nation Radio, where we did a WrestleMania preview, and I was very open about this. This is like the most stressful that I've ever been as far as a wrestling fan. Well, in a very long time. As you get older and you start paying attention to all the things and the spoilers and everything like that, you forget to watch wrestling as a kid. This weekend, I will be watching wrestling as the 11-year-old version of myself, hoping that the American Nightmare Cody Rhodes wins the title. And it's like literally, if someone offered me to tell me what was going to happen right now, I wouldn't want to know because that's how excited I am. It feels like almost like going to a Super Bowl. I'm so invested in the result of the match that it's just everything rides on it. And generally I am very detached, except for FTR or whatever. But in general, I'm very detached. I'm like, this person's going to win, whatever. And I move on about my business. I am not that way right now. I'm very invested in who wins. I am very invested in how the story is told. And yeah, so Sunday night around, I think at 8 or 9 o'clock Pacific time, Floyd's going to either be crying tears of joy or crying tears of sadness. And yeah, so I don't like this feeling. I really don't. It's why I don't go to the Super Bowl. Because I always said I don't want to go to the Super Bowl, pay $5,000, get in there, and then the Chiefs get thumped. I'm like, dude, I lost $5,000 and the Chiefs got thumped. It's like I spent $2,000 on WrestleMania tickets, and I go in there and Cody loses. There's going to be a deflation. There is going to be a depression. I'm going to, yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be big. It's going to be very exciting. I'm so pumped for y'all. I will not be in Los Angeles for WrestleMania weekend. I will be here, but I hope y'all have an amazing time.
No California love for Austin. No California.
Not yet. I'll be able to pop by California sooner or later, but just unfortunately not for me.
No, I mean, I've been open about this, and this is about the city, not about the show. I didn't want to go to LA like at all. I was looking for any excuse not to go this year. The plan is, if you've heard this, if you've heard my plan, is there was directly to go in with JR. We were gonna go to WrestleCon, go to Supercard of Honor, and we were both gonna come home and not watch WrestleMania. I had wasn't that the plan, JR?
Let me tell you this. I live about 3 hours away from LA, and I don't want to go to LA. To add to what Floyd said, when the unfortunate tragic passing of Jay Briscoe, Floyd and I said, well, we want to go because of for him, for Jay and the talent. We know that this was going to be like the first big show. So we're going to get up there Friday and leave Sunday, go back home, because it's just LA. For those of you who've never been to LA, everything's so spread out. It's not easy to get around. Traffic is insane. And, if you've been to WrestleMania week, that's not very good when you're when you want to do things. When things are spread out and there is no public transportation and you need vehicles and traffic jams all the time. So it's very hectic. And Floyd knows this from when we went to AEW Revolution. California is not exactly a cheap place. It's a very expensive state to be around in. You get nickel and dime for everything. And I actually should say you get Benjamin Franklin everywhere. So it's not a good thing. So yes, we did not want to go to WrestleMania.
But certain nightmarish things change plans, I guess. But regardless, we're going to get into the AEW talk, though, on this podcast. We're recording this immediately after AEW Dynamite, and more importantly as well, immediately after AEW All Access debuted as well on TBS. So we'll get into a little bit of that as well. Before we get into everything, I want to make sure you guys are downloading this fine show on Google or Apple Podcasts. You can listen to us on Spotify or wherever you choose to listen to us, as I close my door because my cat just walked in. Stretching. Got it. Cool. All right. Apologies for that. But if you listen to us wherever you choose to listen to this podcast, we appreciate you, and we would also appreciate a share with your friends, family, coworkers, whoever you wish. You can also leave a rating and a review, and you can follow us on social media at ATElitePod on Twitter. At Social Suplex are the guys that make this show possible. Please check out all the other shows they have on their network. I am at Austin Szumowicz, SZUMOWICZ. Floyd is at Floyd Johnson Jr. on Twitter. And also we have Lucha, like I said, the Lucha Professor. He is at Lucha Professor JR on Twitter, at Lucha Professor. So be sure to follow him. Now, the news of the week. We had a lot that's happened recently. First of all, the big thing that we have to mention is that Adam Cole BAYBAY, after being out for months, suffering multiple concussions, 2 concussions, in fact, in a 3-week period, he is finally back wrestling at AEW. He had his first match back since the injuries, where he wrestled in the main event of this show against the one and only Daniel Garcia. We will get into that match in its entirety when we do our whole review. But also, Floyd, this isn't written in the notes, but I wanted to comment on it too, because I'm sure, it's what everyone else is talking about. So we got to get into it, I feel like. We had some awful timing, I feel like, with our podcast last week. Like I said, we recorded it immediately after Dynamite. It aired like Thursday afternoon. And then that same day, like that podcast we mentioned, CM Punk's face was covered up on the TV truck. That was so obvious. Oh, is he going to return? And then some shit happened on Instagram. As many people are already aware, Punk was not happy about what Dave Meltzer posted on his message boards and responded, claiming that he's a liar, and also calling Chris Jericho a liar and a stooge, saying Jon Moxley refused to lose to him, which he had never experienced before, and also that AEW tried to get him to wrestle when he wasn't fully cleared to wrestle, which is in result of the 3-minute match that happened on Dynamite that I was so upset about, where Moxley unified the AEW world titles. A lot has happened. Jon Moxley
Apparently,
actually appeared.
You're not the only one that thought that sucked.
Well, yeah, no, apparently not. Like I said, there was a reason why I was as mad as I was about that. And again, a lot more has happened too. Just recently on the sessions with Renee Paquette, great podcast, Jon Moxley appeared and jumped right into Jump Street and talked vaguely about stuff. Moxley had mentioned about how he's never really had much to complain about with AEW, but he will say throughout his entire wrestling career, through the indies, through WWE developmental, through WWE itself, he's never experienced so much bullshit drama than in AEW. And he said, it's a shame. He said when that whole time period was happening, when he came out of rehab, he wasn't even under contract. So he could have showed up at SummerSlam with the AEW title if he chose to, like the AEW interim championship. But he did not. He said he was bending over backwards just trying to do business with Punk in the first place because, again, he wasn't, quote unquote, under contract because it was extended while he was in rehab. But then when he came back, he didn't want to sign a contract because if he signs a contract, then all of a sudden he's got commitments. And then that's where he spiraled down the same hole that he was already in when he got into rehab in the first place. So that was said. It's very clear now, at least in my eyes, my timidness about the idea of Floyd made the comment of he's 100% coming back. I couldn't say that in my heart of hearts. And this only amplifies my feeling that he will not come back because he's drawn his line in the sand. He's basically said, I want to be back in wrestling. So either y'all bring me back or you let me go. You do one of the two things. I feel like he's drawn the line in the sand because he's basically calling the shots himself and getting the word out the way he wants it to. These people don't seem like they want to make up. These people don't seem like the wound is still fresh. I don't think this will ever get made up. This is still a black eye on the company that they have not fully healed from. And even though people like JR recently said on his podcast, Jim Ross, not RJR. Jim Ross said on his podcast that he believes CM Punk will be back, and he also made the comment saying that AEW needs CM Punk because of his star power. It's just, we can't get through a week without CM Punk being the topic of everybody's mouth and everything that people want to say because, look, I know everyone hates him. Understandably so. Again, I will say understandably so. I'm not trying to be mad if you hate him. But for the people that say oh, no one cares about CM Punk anymore. No, people still do because it's all people want to fucking talk about apparently. But regardless of the fact, I still hate all of this. It's just tiresome. First of all, if I can make a comment, please. As somebody who talks badly about social media, Punk, can you get off of Instagram? Please? I would love that very much. You don't need to be on Instagram because I like it very much when my CM Punk doesn't want to shoot on everybody and just fucking fire off on people. I'd like it if he can move away from that. We did that after WWE. We don't need to do this again. I would like this not to happen, but I would like it if everybody didn't have to use social media because it's pointless. But I guess, look, I've babbled on enough about this. I kind of laid everything out, just the somewhat timeline that we've had with this entire fucking week with the Instagram developments with CM Punk versus the entirety of the wrestling world. It seems, JR, I know we've had you on talk about this kind of stuff before, but just from everything that you saw that's gone down this week, just give me your thoughts.
I'll try to keep it short and concise because I'm naturally long-winded, as everybody knows who listens when I'm on. The first thing I will say this is with CM Punk on his side, something that I may have said this before when all this came out last year, but one of the things I learned in my profession is you can't tell somebody how to feel. So CM Punk, in his feelings, feels that he was done wrong. And nothing's going to change that. he has, and as this whole thing, there is CM Punk side, there's everybody else's side, and when I say everybody else, that could be Moxley, the Elite, and so on and so forth. And then there's the truth, and we will probably never know the truth because typically that just never happens. I mean, unless everybody gets into a room and say, okay, this is what really happened. It's just there's sides and that's it. So I myself, I'm not upset with CM Punk for the single fact is that he feels he's valid. And as somebody's been in a position where I feel I've been done wrong in my place of employment, and where other people don't see it from my side, again, you can't tell people how to feel. You can't tell people how to feel. That's their feeling. So that's one thing. Going into with Moxley when he did the podcast with his wife Renee, one of the things he said, and I want people to understand this. Two things can be true. So what I mean by that is he said that AEW is the most drama-filled place he's worked in. That can be true. That doesn't mean it's a bad place to work in. I work in a university. I love my job, but I also deal with a lot of drama because I work with students who have, unfortunately, a lot of drama. And so, but I do love my job. So two things can be true that are two different areas. It doesn't mean that AEW is a bad place to work. It doesn't mean that they have maybe bad leadership. It's just, it's how things are. So I completely understand what John Moxley's saying in that. I think in the overarching situation is that management is going to eventually have to come out and say, this is what we're going to do moving forward in order for everything to officially die. Because in conclusion, I will say this, as long as CM Punk is still under contract for AEW, this is going to continue to be a thing. It may not be a weekly thing. It may not even be a monthly thing. But every so often, something's going to come up and be like, oh, shit, here's some more stuff being stirred up.
Yeah. All right. Going to the shit man himself, the man who loves rolling in the mud. Floyd, your thoughts on this all?
My thoughts are the super weird thoughts. It's all a work. Oh, it's all a work, and it's a beautiful work, and I love it. We have very old school people that like you to think that they really hate people in real life because they help think drama brings to the match. 4-5 days before their All Access show debuts, CM Punk decides to post this on Instagram, stirring up the world. Some of you may believe in coincidences. I do not. I think this is all leading to setting up CM Punk versus Chris Jericho, CM Punk versus Jon Moxley, all these different rivalries he can have. They're not are based around the title, which is really good, and it'll bring eyes to AEW. I know I'm a weirdo. It's probably a person probably already pressed stop on this show because they're like, oh, yeah. But no, I just, if you look at Punk and how he thinks, right? He's very old school. You get a little insight into like what he thinks a little bit by listening to Dax's show. Just like they love wrestling, right? And wrestling's better when you think the two people don't like each other. You know what I mean? I'm not saying they're kumbaya. I'm not saying they love each other. I'm not saying they're sitting online playing Fortnite or whatever the hell people play together. I'm not saying all that. I'm saying these are grown-ass men that like money, and their ultimate goal is the success of AEW. If AEW fails, that's on everyone, right? CM Punk is a name. He has crossed over in many ways because of his time in the UFC and different places, in different movies he's been in. He's crossed over, right? That people understand his name. You talk to people that don't watch wrestling, you say CM Punk, they say, oh, the wrestler. That's good. That's good. That's what you want. That is what you want. You want some recognizable name. Chris Jericho, CM Punk. Two most recognizable names in AEW as far as worldwide because of Chris Jericho and the band and how long he's been around. CM Punk because his name. You need Chris Jericho. You need CM Punk. You need those people to help get eyes on the 4 pillars. They help get eyes on the women's division and the younger people in it. And it's just what you need. And you're like, I know this is weird. And I don't have a problem with it being work. If everybody's like, oh, that makes no sense it being a work. It does make sense it being a work. Because when they wrestle, you're going to care. Like, oh, are you going to care? Are they going to really hurt each other? Blah, blah, blah. It's the new work. It is the new work. You can't work people like you used to because everybody knows it's scripted. But you can work people in a new way. And I believe that's what this is that's going on right now. I think it's 100% CM Punk is coming back. I have no inside information on that. This is just a gut feeling from someone that has watched wrestling the majority of his existence and loves wrestling the majority of his existence. You can work it out. If you think about it in real sports, my favorite team is the Kansas City Chiefs. We have an all-pro defensive lineman named Chris Jones, right? Chris Jones literally cost us the game against Indianapolis Colts. He said something, did something, and he got throughout the game. Next week, guess who was starting at the defensive tackle? Chris Jones, because he's a game changer. He's a man mover. He's a mistaker. He affects how the team performs. That is CM Punk in wrestling. He affects the performance of AEW. He makes them more high profile. The numbers are higher when he's there. Ticket sales are higher when he's there. He matters. And as long as he affects numbers, he is valuable. So, and guess what? I believe they're paying him no matter what. So if you're paying him this exorbitant income, no matter what, you might as well use him.
And the last thing I'll say, too, like I said, because I will mention again, too, what JR said. This will continue as long as CM Punk is under contract. If he's not under contract, then we're done. Then it's over. Then we can move on from this. But he's still under contract. So with that being the case, this will not stop until we either see Punk back or he's released or fired or whatever the case is. Yeah, and the other thing I will say, go ahead.
I was going to say, the last thing I'm going to say is another reason I think he's going to come back, because the one man that can end all speculation hasn't done it. And he hasn't done it. You know, Tony Khan could end all the CM Punk talks. Hey, had talks, couldn't reach your agreement. He's not coming back. We're going to work on a buyout. He could just publicly announce that. And I'm wrong at that point, and we move on. But as long as he's not saying that, they're working on him coming back in my mind.
Yeah, well, there's that. And I will say, too, again, as somebody who I have said on this show, I do swing Punk, but I love everybody involved. I love Chris Jericho. I love the Elite. I love Jon Moxley. I love all these guys.
Austin.
Yes?
You forgot the most controversial part of this whole situation.
Okay.
And that is the fact that CM Punk, a 40-plus-year-old man, has never seen a Rocky movie.
I wasn't going to mention it, dude, because here's the deal. Rocky is my favorite movie franchise of all time. Star Wars can suck it. Lord of the Rings can suck it. Star Trek can suck it. There's no movie franchise that is better than the Rocky series. You have Star Wars where people are screaming about multiple bad movies. I only have one, and it isn't even that bad. Rocky 5 is fine. But Punk tweeted in 2010 how he'd never seen a Rocky movie. And he says it again 13 years later. There is no excuse. I've said this to my friends, and I've said this to the people that I care about. I would rather Punk live stream himself watching the entire Rocky franchise than come back to wrestling at this point. Just fucking do that for me, and then I will be at peace. Because then my favorite wrestler will have seen my favorite movies, and then I can be done with all of this. That's what I say about that.
The Rock, let me say this. Punk is a very, very charitable person. He gives a lot of his time to charity. You know, he's a very charitable person. Do you know how much he could charge per seat to rent out an old movie theater and say, come watch Rocky with CM Punk?
Yes, seriously. Do it for charity. Absolutely. It would be such a good fucking move. It would be amazing.
Like, everybody comes and watches Rocky for the first time with CM Punk.
I mean, for the love of God, dude, Hogan is in Rocky 3. Like, a wrestler is in a movie that, like, you got to watch it. Dude, it's just kind of common law.
And I've made the argument many times that every Rocky is a pro wrestling storyline. I feel like Sylvester Stallone was a massive pro wrestling fan because it's
Sure.
like everyone is like, oh, the guy that never made it, he gets a chance. You could say the first two Rockies are almost like Bryan Danielson's story. You know what I mean?
Seriously. Well, I mean, it's the best. It's one of the best underdog stories told in cinema.
Yeah.
Serious.
Yeah. Rocky 3 is Rocky 3. I know it's based on Muhammad Ali and George Foreman, but you could also say it was Brock Lesnar and John Cena. You know what I mean? It's like
You could say it was John Cena versus The Rock.
Yeah, you could say that. You know, like Rocky 4. I mean, a big evil bad guy that beats up your friend. That's how many wrestling storylines is that?
Well, dude, what the fuck was Rusev and Lana when they first got to WWE? Lana
that was Rocky 4. I know Floyd was there. I don't know if you were there, Austin. We were there in Santa Clara for WrestleMania 31, and that whole thing, I'm like, I mean, everything. I was like, this is Ivan Drago versus John Cena. The only thing that John Cena didn't come out with was the USA flag shorts.
Yeah, seriously. Or if he came out to Living in America, something.
I will say, I did a poll to end my part of this because I know I started up the shit. I did a poll in the wrestling group. Out of 100 votes, about 18% said they'd never seen a Rocky film. So that's basically 18 people. About 20, I think it was 22 people said they've seen at least one, but over 60 people said they've seen every Rocky movie.
Good. I mean, that makes me happy at least. And then those 18 people need to get their shit together. Because, dude, since Punk tweeted that in 2010, and since he posted on Instagram how he still had never seen a Rocky movie, 3 fucking Creed movies have come out, and they're all great. So there's no excuse. There's no excuse. Yeah. But the very, very last thing I want to say too is somebody, like I said, I love everybody involved. But like I said, there's Punk's side, there's everybody else's, like Moxley and Elite and all their sides, and then there's the truth. But if what Punk is saying is true about how he wasn't cleared and they tried to get him to wrestle anyway, this dude literally came off of the fucking just biggest shitstorm with WWE about doctors not getting cleared and wrestling while he had multiple injuries, and how he said in the Instagram post how he's never putting his health on the line for a company like that. Like he will never put a company above his health. So if that alone is true, like that is damning. I'm not saying it is because I don't know anything, but regardless of the fact, that's the one thing I will say. That's the thing more than any of everything else that I said. If that alone is true, that's fucking bad. But I'm not saying it is.
My whole thing is this. I'm going to say these 2 words. It's wrestling. I mean, it's just not. I don't think it's a big deal, right? I just don't think where people wrestle where they're not, quote unquote, cleared all the time. And it's just like, hey, just come in, basically take a move, go down.
Again, I will say, though, like I said, I will say it's different because of what Punk went through those 7+ years ago.
Absolutely. And
if this was somebody else like who was like, I'm not cleared, I don't want to wrestle, but they were kind of pushing them and they'd never gone through something like that. Okay, it's like I said, people work hurt all the time. It's a thing. Yeah. Punk literally was gone through multiple lawsuits with the company over not being cleared and undiagnosed staph infections and all a bunch of bullshit.
Yeah, I will still say this, and this has nothing to do with whether he was cleared or not. The story, having him lose right before he wrestled,
it was again, dumb.
I wasn't a fan of it then. With the results, still not a fan of it, but I did like, I of course like CM Punk and the idea. I love Rocky 3, but I think Rocky 3 should play out over 6 months.
Well, and also too, what happened? Here's the thing too, I will mention too, the thing that made that Rocky 3 fight so emotional and so good was because of the fact that Mickey died. Spoiler alert, Mickey dies, goes and has cardiac arrest before the fight. Rocky is all out of whack and can't focus on the fight. He goes back to the locker room and Mickey's dead. That's why that fight is so moving. That's why that fight means so much. And it's also because Rocky, went from rags to riches and literally lost the eye of the tiger. That's the whole fucking idea of that. And I know they tried to get that across, but again, there wasn't enough hardship. There wasn't enough.
It wasn't long enough. it wasn't long enough. To me, that is what it comes down to.
I'm like having one crazy man who bites people scream about how you're Chicago-born punk doesn't make me like I will say, like, I wasn't a huge fan of that whole deal. I thought it was fucking rushed, and I thought it was just kind of a mess.
It is what it is, but
it is what it is. Yes, we've spent too much time on this. I know. I had to get it out of the way because I know it's been the one thing AEW related that everybody has been talking about, because of course it is. But we had a really good Dynamite that we should definitely be talking about too.
We did. It was a really good Dynamite.
It was a really good Dynamite. Yeah. So, real quick, let's get into it. From St. Louis, Missouri, we had AEW Dynamite, which was kicked off with the Firm's Matt Hardy facing off against Jungle Boy Jack Perry. Which, can we say too, the Firm and like what's been changing a little bit, at least regarding Private Party and Matt Hardy and Ethan Page and that whole ordeal, they've been making noise on AEW Dark and Dark Elevation. Those guys have really been like doing a bunch of crazy shit, like fucking Isaiah Cassidy's moan is over, which is weird, but I like it. I'm down with it. I love that people are getting into it. Also, Ethan Page doing the Jeff Hardy dance, hysterical, so fucking funny. But these guys in a like feud, in a angle that I thought was just nobody gave a shit, they're actually doing something with it, and I got to give them props for that, because I got to say, I didn't think they were going to go anywhere with it, but they are making some good stuff out of it.
I remarked in the moment when I saw this match was first, I was like, how to kill a lead-in, how to kill your lead-in 101, starting off with Jungle Boy Matt Hardy. I ended up liking the segment and thought it was good, but I was just like,
it's not, like I said, we've talked, yeah.
This is not how you keep people tuning in. It's like,
no. Again, we're so used to being spoiled with the opening matches with AEW Dynamites, but I still thought this was a good match. I like the idea of Ethan Page like fucking around and like cheating and doing some shit to Jungle Boy while Matt Hardy isn't paying attention. I thought that was good. There was a point where like fucking I think it was Jungle Boy literally got tossed over the barricade and he got fucking chucked. But as this fight goes down and Darby Allin is watching and Sammy Guevara is watching from separate monitors, at one point Hook comes out and he proceeds to start fighting with Ethan Page up the ramp. And as they're fighting, Jack Perry is able to get the distracted Matt Hardy with a tope suicida flatliner and gets a shot to the back of the head. And Jungle Boy gets the win. And that's when we get MJF coming down the ramp. And this is where things really picked up for sure. The match I thought was good, solid. I thought, it did what it needed to do. But having met MJF come out and him and Jungle Boy cut a stellar promo and a stellar segment together, and how MJF said, like, going into Double or Nothing 2020, you had the audacity to say that I had it easy. And he's like, you're right, dude. I get to obliterate everybody and just fucking go on my jet and go back to Long Island next week. But then it's like, you worked hard, but I don't recall these people like saying thank you to you. And also, after our match, I thought I met my equal. I thought I met somebody who I respected, but I shook your hand and I told him to ditch all his friends if he wanted to be successful as me and not care about people and only focus on himself. And he said, we could have run this place, and don't think Hook will be any better than any of the other friends who have screwed you over in the past. And these people have gotten you nowhere because I'm an AEW World Heavyweight Champion and you're still just Jungle Boy. And Jungle Boy then proceeded to say how, you know what? At least when I become AEW World Champion, I won't wake up alone every day and hate the person I see in the mirror. And MJF then proceeds to say, you're a massive disappointment, and said, like, oh, and I saw your girlfriend back in the locker room, and you're not only just weak, but you're weak between the knees. And that's when Jack jumps on MJF. They start beating the shit out of each other, and Jungle Boy rolls out of the ring. And again, a great head-to-head promo between MJF and Jungle Boy. They did great. And this was a good, solid opening, I will say. The match itself was fine, but this segment with MJF and Jungle Boy was really good. JR, we go to you first.
I'm gonna focus past the match. The big thing about this is, and I alluded to this maybe the last time I was on, we're at the point where AEW is about to have their, doing the math in my head, their 4-year anniversary. And this is the time that we talked about when you saw names like one MJF and Jungle Boy Jack Perry, the future of I think I said WWF, I apologize, AEW. This is where we want, and see these young talent who are going to eventually carry that mantle and carry the torch into the next 5 to 10 years, be able to have main event matches and sell out arenas and draw ratings. And I am from the very beginning, have invested and seen what I would call the main event development of Jungle Boy Jack Perry, but also the further development, because, even as a main eventer that MJF is as the AEW World Heavyweight Champion, it's his first run. And you're still developing that. And I think that's a safe thing to say. It didn't matter if it was, from talent like Austin to talent like, Kenny Omega, when they had a chance to have the main title in whatever organization they were in. And so to see this, it's very important for the company, because they were in this situation, as we mentioned, like what Jim Ross said, we need a guy like CM Punk. It's like, well, you need him because he's a main eventer, but you can also develop other talent to become main eventers where you don't have to rely on some of the older talent who eventually are not going to be here, and that someone you're going to rely on to be here consistently week in and week out. So I think this route they're going down is perfect, and I'm invested to see what they do. And everything they're doing is like, I'll use tease for lack of a better word, but because some of us are thinking they're going to do a fatal 4-way at Double or Nothing, but it could be anything at this point, from all these 4 individuals involved.
Yeah, absolutely. This is a monumental period of time for AEW. They're about to try to build 3 superstars, 3 wrestlers up to the level of MJF, to then try to sell a pay-per-view with them on top. Now, I'm not talking about any other matches or anything else. They're going to try to sell a pay-per-view with them on top. And this will be the first time, not MJF. MJF has been the main event. But the other 3, really, as far as individuals, I mean, Sammy's main evented with the Jericho Appreciation Society and with what was the group called before? Inner Circle, yeah. He's main evented with them, but, Jungle Boy and Darby really haven't been in the main event. So, if for the Fatal 4-Way is where we're going, we have to show that these guys are main eventers, that these guys are the guys. And it's perfect right now, because tonight, I think Jungle Boy, as far as on the mic, as far as a character, as far as someone that people take care about, took a step forward. I felt like it was a big step forward, because he's on the mic with MJF. MJF's doing his thing. He got full MJF. MJF was not holding back. And Jungle Boy hung. I'm not saying he made MJF look like foolish, but he didn't come off like just ill-prepared, out of his depth at this point. It looked like, okay, he looks good standing there next to MJF. So Jungle Boy's taller than I thought, because he was taller than MJF, and I was like, didn't think he was. But it was like some of the size stuff that I had a problem with was kind of put to rest today. He definitely could be thicker to me. He could be about 15 to 20 pounds heavier, in my opinion. But that's just how I like my wrestling. For the most part, I think he came out looking like someone on the level of MJF tonight. And that is respect to Jungle Boy and respect to MJF.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll move off from that. Don Callis and Kenny Omega were backstage, and he said, "Look, I'm going to apologize to Hangman for last week." He's like, I grabbed his arm, I slipped and fell, and you. Isn't it weird how you thought all of a sudden your so-called friend, hurt me? That was what you jumped to. Like, that's the first conclusion you made. So he tried to turn it back, the snake that he is. We then had footage of Matt Menard and Angelo Parker and Jake Hager of the JAS showing the Acclaimed and Daddy Ass a night in St. Louis, and basically like trying to like take them out, wine and dine them, and try to get them to join the JAS. And the Acclaimed said, "You know what? We'll give our answer next week." It was a decent, like, funny enough video, I guess. And then we saw more Blackpool Combat Club murder because Dalton Castle and the boys got jumped. And the BCC came out and they jumped Dalton Castle and the boys. Claudio was beating the hell out of one of them in the ring as Yuta and Moxley took control of Dalton and the other boy outside. And then as that went down, BCC got the very much easy win. And then they walked out, and Hangman was being interviewed backstage, but then led to the BCC showing up as Hangman accidentally called them the BBC. Careful there. And they jumped Hangman Page, and he was convinced that the BCC jumped him the last week, and they jumped him this time. And Don Callis comes up. Moxley takes off his sunglasses and gives him a slick shot to the face, which busts this man open like crazy. And while that's happening, our good boy Claudio gives us another incredible, gifable AEW moment with him throwing on the glasses and smiling with his mouth guard in. So fucking good. This BCC is vicious. So just going through real quick, is there anything y'all wanted to comment on from this giant list of quick shit that happened before we get to the next match?
No, the only thing I want to say is this is I felt like, and I've commented to both JR and Austin at different times, that AEW needed a big storyline, and they found it. I mean, this is it. It feels big. This whole BCC thing feels big. It feels like it's the next thing people are going to get behind. People are going to pick sides, and I'm excited to see how it plays out. But I still don't think they're the ones that attack the Young Bucks. I don't. I don't think they're the ones that attack.
Just the fact that Hangman was convinced that it was them, but it was never really fully confirmed, and they didn't say whether or not they did it or not. I just feel like, there's a lot of shit that they are not saying.
Yeah, I think there's a bald guy and a guy with hair that it might have been. Just throwing that out there.
Okay. Well, unless JR has anything he wants to add from this quick little lightning round of shit that happened on Dynamite, we can move in.
I was just saying, it just seems like Hangman just needs to watch his acronyms. He seems to be a big fan of the British Broadcast Company, so just
let's not be just one-sided on this too. He could be a fan of a certain category on Pornhub too that we're not aware of.
Sir, I am an innocent angel. I have no idea what you're talking about.
Okay, sure. Okay.
The other thing I would say, based on that beatdown, there's a rumor that Don Callis was legitimately busted open the hard way. I think I can't remember if they said it wasn't when he got hit by Moxley. They said he on the way down, he may have accidentally hit something that caused him to be busted open.
Yeah, PW Insider, I know, reported that. Some people are saying that it was just a really good blade job. I'm not going to comment on what it was. All I know is seeing Don Callis that bloody freaked me out for a second because I was just like, holy shit, Moxley's not the one bleeding. So.
Yeah, it was weird. Moxley went all night and didn't bleed. It was crazy.
Yeah, so there you go. You don't have to reset the counter. But we move on now to the IWGP United States Heavyweight title match between Kenny Omega and Jeff Cobb. Now, Omega backstage was informed about Callis being jumped, and he was very much trying to stay focused after Tony Schiavone told him that. But, the big thing that we had was the fact that this was the return of Devil Sky. Kenny Omega's New Japan theme, fucking made its return. I was completely caught off guard. I was waiting for the end now and the fucking build-up music. We didn't get it, and I was like, huh? And then I heard the fucking screeching violins, and I was just like, oh my fucking god, it's Devil Sky. Holy shit. Holy fucking shit.
I do like the fact that it's a New Japan match. This was a New Japan
so he has his New Japan theme. Yes,
I thought that was just a nice nerdy touch for us all.
Absolutely. I mean, here's the thing. I would have thought it would have been even more perfect if they actually had a New Japan referee. I know that's very difficult to be able to pull off, and I completely understand why they didn't. But it would have been it would have completed that whole idea of this being a New Japan sanctioned match. You know what I mean?
Fly Kevin Kelly in, and he calls the match. Come on, let's go.
Let's just go all the way. Let's do this shit.
I love me some Kevin Kelly. So and I don't know who's the best in the game because everybody has different opinions on who's the best. But I don't think there's anybody better than Kevin Kelly.
Kevin Kelly is a lovely, lovely lad. But this match between Jeff Cobb and Kenny Omega was fucking good. It was really, really good. Cobb hitting a V trigger on his own on Kenny Omega. His size and throwing a fucking knee like that into Kenny, sending him in the ropes was vicious. I love the idea of them using the size, like as Kenny tried to power slam him multiple times, tried to go for the one-winged angel. Also love how Cobb tried to go for the same thing. These guys traded shots, traded some great moves. But Kenny Omega was able to get out of the Tour of the Islands at one point, get a V-trigger, and then lift up Cobb for the one-winged angel. It was a stellar match. Very, very good. And it was capped off immediately with the Blackpool Combat Club still not leaving and showing up, surrounding Kenny Omega. And as they are preparing to get into the ring, you hear Bryan Danielson's theme. And the best part is, too, because they started it before the actual of the Flight of the Valkyries, nobody knew what the fuck the theme was. Like, come on, y'all. Like, how do y'all... Like, I knew it was immediately Bryan Danielson. The crowd was, like, kind of like, who is this again? And the Titantron wasn't on either. So they were just like, who is this again? And then they were like, oh, yeah, Bryan Danielson. And then the pop went fucking crazy, which I thought was just kind of funny. But as Bryan Danielson gets into the ring, he's yelling at the other members of BCC. We were talking about how, this could be leading to like Bryan seeing what happened to the BCC and being like just kind of a break, like almost like a Bullet Club is fine sort of situation where just like the sides kind of split almost. But as Danielson helps Omega to his feet, and all of a sudden Kenny Omega runs to try to take down some of the members of the BCC on the apron. Danielson's warming himself up and fucking Busaiku knee to Kenny Omega. The BCC comes in, beats the living shit out of Omega, and the BCC is fully formed, minus Regal, but he's there in spirit. But they are vicious now as the whole BCC is here, and they are going to wreak havoc on just whoever the fuck they want at this point. But them going after Kenny and Hangman, this is going to be fucking, because if this is going to be built into Young Bucks and Kenny and fucking Hangman facing off against the Blackpool Combat Club, that is going to be unreal. So this was really fucking good. This is probably, honestly, best part of the entire show.
It really was. I'm going to jump in here because, it's not telling you, it's not just, oh, this was an awesome thing. It's saying you're about to get so much more awesome over the next month or two. You're going to get probably Kenny Omega against members of the Blackpool Combat Club. You're going to get tag matches. You're going to get all the different iterations of this. It's not the feud I wanted, right? It's not who I wanted the Elite to be feuding with, as I've been very open about. But come on. You got, Bryan Danielson, Jon Moxley, Claudio Castagnoli, Wheeler Yuta against the Young Bucks, Kenny Omega, and the Hangman Page. It's like, this is awesome. This is the feud of the year. if done correctly. And it won't be close. I am so excited about what's going on and what they have in store for this group. And it looks like there's little twinges of there might be somebody else, in this feud. Even like, the stuff that's being left out. But good Lord, this is very exciting. I don't know who didn't know Bryan Danielson was about to attack Kenny Omega. I thought there was no foreshadowing there. It was like he's clearly coming out to attack Kenny Omega. And as you may have heard on the show last week, I said when Bryan Danielson was talking about going home, he was talking about going home to the Blackpool Combat Club. I remember saying that. I'm saying that because I was right. And if I wasn't right, I wouldn't have brought it up again. JR?
So
everyone loves TV Dad.
On the next TV Dad, presented by Progressive, TV Dad gets us through heartache.
Chin up, sport.
Oh, hey, TV Dad.
You know what heals all wounds?
Time?
No, it's remembering that drivers who switch and save with Progressive could save hundreds.
But Jen still doesn't want to be with me.
True. I actually saw her with your friend Brian earlier.
Wait, what?
Listen to your TV Dad. Drivers who switch and save with Progressive could save hundreds. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Potential savings will vary.
The first thing I'll make mention, Kenny Omega has had 3 matches in the last 3 weeks on Dynamite. The trios match with Jericho Appreciation Society, House of Black, and the Elite in Winnipeg, and then last week with Vikino, and then this week with Jeff Cobb. And I just want to say it's really good to see him. I'm not gonna pretend I'm this massive Kenny Omega fan, but one of the things I remember him saying when he was gone, with his injuries, is that he didn't know if he was gonna come back. And so it's good to see him being able to make that comeback after being away for so long, and that he's able to, do what he has been doing against some remarkable talent. I love what Vikino could do, and I'm a big fan of Jeff Cobb. I think he's a tremendous athlete. Going into what, kind of piggyback off Floyd said, is that this is exactly what, especially for me, where I kind of felt like, I guess my faith in AEW was a little bit rattled after everything that happened. I feel that this is making the Elite strong, like probably as strong as they've ever been in AEW, bringing them back together, and then taking Blackpool Combat Club. And I'm gonna be honest, for me, I've never really been a big Moxley fan. It just wasn't my cup of tea. Just nothing particular. I just wasn't like always enthusiastic to see him. And I really didn't care for Wheeler Yuta. What they've been doing with the Blackpool Combat Club in the last few weeks is making me care about these two guys that I never cared before. I always liked Claudio, especially, going back to when he was a partner with Sheamus. I love what he can do in the ring. And their whole presentation, I actually was telling Floyd, I think it was last week when they came out, I can't remember if it was Wednesday, what day it was. They had these simple hoodies that just said Black, I think it said Blackpool Wrestler or something like that. And I told Floyd, I want that hoodie. Especially for me, I was a former amateur wrestler. Like, they just have this presence, like, we're a team, we're a fight team. We're going to get out here and we're going to beat the shit out of everybody that's around us. And we're going to, and take no prisoners, no mercy. And now bringing back Bryan Danielson, which I will say, I was telling Floyd, I was trying to find every reason for it not to be Bryan Danielson, because Bryan Danielson is, to me, such a babyface, but he's a killer heel. Some of the best work he did in AEW was when they turned him heel for his feud with Hangman towards the end of 2021, going into 2022. So this is tremendous. I mean, it continues to build a prominence for Wheeler Yuta. It makes everybody involved seem like a massive main eventers. I don't know what their end game is or their end goal, but I'll be honest, everybody that I've seen on social media was like, we're going to get this blood and guts, right? Like, we're going to do this. And remember, we were supposed to get the Elite versus the Inner Circle in the first ever Blood and Guts in Newark in March of 2020, I think, or April 2020. and then until the unfortunate pandemic hit, and we never got the Elite in it. Now we have a chance to get the Elite in the blood and guts, two rings, one cage match against another group that I think is at their level, that could be a massive show wherever it's at.
Yeah, no, it's going to be huge to see how this play out. And yeah, if they go with the blood and guts route, that will be absolutely fucking nuts.
How about Detroit? Would you be interested in seeing that in Detroit?
Another blood and guts Detroit? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I'm down for another blood and guts Detroit.
I just wonder if that's going to be like, that's Detroit around that time every year is going to be blood and guts, and that would be.
Hey man, I'm not against it. Honestly, I'm not against it. I mean, like, dude, I already get AEW coming back to Detroit, and I got fucking SummerSlam for the first time in fucking forever, dude. That's just, like, yes. John
Keep Cena
giving
versus
Detroit
Cody Rhodes, SummerSlam. Let's go,
bro. If that happens, my friend Jared is gonna fucking fly here so fast. If that is the case, but there was a quick backstage segment where the AEW World Tag Champs, the Guns, were running down FTR, saying they no longer respect him. And they did have the great line of like, for once, after next week, your little catchphrase is actually going to be apropos by being like, top guys out. Loved that little bit.
Yeah. So speaking of this,
go ahead.
Yeah, FTR. So. Sweet Baby Jesus and me had a conversation. And I was like, man, they announced that this match was going to happen. And I immediately started looking at the calendar. It was like the next week was going to be in Kansas City. Okay, you know what? I am loved and blessed, but I am not that loved and blessed. Okay, we're not going to get Kansas City. But hey, let's do St. Louis. And I'm like, yeah, it would suck because I'm going to LA the next day, but I can move some flights around and I can take it, right? And I was like, Long Island. And I ran numbers and all that stuff. I was like, dude, I'm just going to be getting back to Oklahoma on that Monday. People have been covering for me. That's the one day I can't do. I looked at the 12th in Milwaukee. I was like, I can do that. Looked at the 19th in Pittsburgh. I could do that. I'm saying these cities like clockwork because I've done the research. Like hotel, airfare, ready to buy it as soon as they announced where it was. As long as it wasn't in Long Island, I could make it work. As long as it wasn't in Long Island.
Oh, and it happens just to be exactly there.
Yes. Tuesday morning, I wake up to not one, not two, not three, but 4 messages from my lovely friends. I was like, either something really, really good has happened or something really, really bad has happened. Because, I don't wake up to like 4 DMs. And I found out something really, really bad. Come on, and I want to understand. This is relative terms. This is like first world, my life's pretty fucking good problems. You know what I mean? I mean, it's not a real problem. And I realized I can't go. And I'm like, JR had to chat with me, and then I had to talk to Jackie. And you know what? I found comfort in the fact that Jackie is going to be there. Because she wasn't official. She was like, I don't know, blah, blah, blah. They announced it, and she was like, I'm going. And I found comfort in that. One of us is going to be there. It is. When it comes to FTR, it's me, Jackie, and JR. That is the 3. That is the 3 the people that I'm closest to in the FTR fandom. So as long as one of the 3 is there, I could find comfort in that. But understand, it is one of the. This is like some real stuff that's hitting me that you just can't do everything. Like I found out also this week that I can't go to Forbidden Door. Why can't I go to Forbidden Door? First of all, it's kind of hard. But second of all, I found out that passports, even if you play for the Rush, are 4 months behind. Guess what that means?
You ain't making it.
Yeah, I only get it to July and August. So it's like, it's not that I can't I can't. No, it's like I can't go. They don't let you in the country without a passport. I can't go. I will be watching it from home. But it is putting the fire under my ass to actually go ahead and finally get my passport because I've put it off long enough. But Yeah, so finding those two things out, like literally back-to-back days, as a person that travels and goes to as much stuff I can go, yeah, that was it was a disappointing Tuesday. But FTR is about to take the Guns to a level that they have never been on before, and it's going to be a banger match. But I will be watching it from home, and then me and Austin will be talking about it after the show, unfortunately. Well, us talking about a show is fortunate, but the fact that I'm not there is unfortunate.
No, absolutely. We then had the AEW International title match between Orange Cassidy and The Butcher. And this match was fine. I think out of all of because Orange Cassidy's been outstanding with the international title. I got to say, as the guy who is supposed to be the slacker, he's had like the most title defenses and has been the workhorse with that belt like crazy. I think that's really ironic and funny. But this match was all right. Honestly, it was just kind of there. Of course, Orange Cassidy was able to retain after it looked like, the blade got hit and took out crowbar while the referee was distracted and hit Orange Cassidy in the back of the head with it. He still kicked out. Best Friends then came out and took out the blade, and then beach break on Butcher. Orange Cassidy retains the belt. It's good to see Best Friends. And yeah, that was kind of, the long and short of that one.
Yes, this match happened. It absolutely happened. That's my comment.
But Orange Cassidy has still been outstanding with the international title. I will say.
And I love Big Butcher, and I wished him and the Blade got more like shots in the tag team, were a little bit more pushed. But you know what? Everybody can't be pushed. It's unfortunately the unfortunate side of professional wrestling that everybody can't be pushed. So it was nice that Big Butch got a moment with OC tonight. It was an entertaining match. I love the crowbar. I loved how they incorporated the blade. I love all that. It's just, I wish, I got, like I said, maybe a different opponent. I don't know, but happy for Orange. OC is what they've done really well in AEW. Is the first champion of any belt that they've had has really established the title. Now, of course, the trios, that was an exception. The first champion, but that second champion of Pac and the Lucha Bros, the Death Triangle, really established that title. So
hey, hang on. Pac was the first ever All Atlantic champion. So
was he? I feel like Orange Cassidy is the one really establishing the title.
He was. That's the thing. It's the same situation, I will say, because Pac.
Yeah.
When he first won it, it was great. It was great. It was a great moment. But it's really been Orange Cassidy who's been fucking flying that title around and doing a bunch of great shit.
Yeah.
So just had to correct you on that matter, though. But
yes, you are correct.
Yes. All right. Moving from that, we had Ruby Soho face off against Willow Nightingale, former tag team partners going at each other. I did enjoy the point before going into break where Ruby Soho's got Willow against the ropes, and she just stares in the camera like, look, this is my friend. She's best friends. I just thought that was really funny. And this was a solid match. I think Willow did a nice job. Ruby played the heel role pretty well. But regardless of the fact, though, referee was distracted and Tony Storm interfered and helped Ruby have an illegal leverage to pin Will Nightingale to get the win. They were going to spray paint. They were going to take a chair actually and break Willow's leg. Riho and Sky Blue come out. Unfortunately, we don't have the lead pipe for a second week in a row, but you know what? When Riho runs and you hear that music, you better fucking run. They had Riho and Sky Blue, however, outnumbered, but then Jamie Hayter comes down, finishes off the chase, and then there's a little moment where Riho goes like, hey, I'm still coming after that title. And Jamie's like, I'll be ready. And yeah, I thought this was a pretty solid, semi-main. I thought Willow did a nice job. Ruby, I love her. I still kind of she does well as a heel, and especially against Willow, at least because there was a little bit of history between the two. It was a nice little instance to see her really try to get into the heel role. And I think she did a solid job.
The more they come out, the more they come dressed alike. I'm really feeling the coolness factor of their group.
Oh, yeah.
I really feel like tonight was like peak coolness for the Outcast, and now they got their.
I mean, it definitely helps that they're all incredibly good looking too. So
no, I mean, they all got the shirt. Now, see, and that was the whole thing. It was the whole thing. It just, for a point, it just seemed like three randos thrown together, right? But now they're
no
dressing alike, and they kind of got this like presence. And when they walking down the ring, they look like a gang of girls that'll fuck you up now. And that's what I'm looking at I'm looking at it from the wrestling side. Are they attractive? Come on. Yes, absolutely. But it's just like now they look like a threatening group of people that could really beat you up. And I thought that was kind of missing for the first few weeks, and I've really felt it tonight in St. Louis.
Yeah, there you go. All right, and now we move on to the main event, Adam Cole's return against Daniel Garcia. They were really focusing in on Adam's head, like multiple pile drivers, I will say, which was a scary, scary thing for sure. But it was really good with Daniel Garcia getting the heel work out there and doing some good stuff there. However, still, Adam Cole was able to fight and get the Panama Sunrise and then lower the boom, hit the running knee, pinning Daniel Garcia. And then you had Britt Baker come down celebrating. They kiss, and then confetti goes flying, and it's a beautiful moment. But then you hear Judas start to play as Chris Jericho comes down to help Daniel Garcia to the back, and he would not look Adam Cole in the eye. And that is how they closed off AEW Dynamite. It was a good main event. It was just a feel-good moment, too, just to see Adam back. And that was the thing, because honestly, like, there's nothing that I feel like anybody can say that's bad about Adam Cole. He's just genuinely good and in all aspects. So to see him back is just a good feeling. And we're going to get to see now the continuation, like with Chris Jericho getting involved. I think Adam Cole and Chris Jericho would be a really fucking good feud. So I'm all down to see that. And I'm just happy he's back, honestly. It was a sad thing when he got injured and he got the concussions. I'm just happy that he's back because I know he talked about the trials and tribulations to get back to the ring. It's just good to see, honestly. I feel happy about the dude. And Daniel Garcia did a good job of really healing it up in this match. But this was a solid end to Dynamite, I will say.
It was one of those moments where when the match ended and there was like 4 minutes left, I'm like, are they literally just going to do this Adam Cole celebration 4 minutes? I know I'm a cold-hearted person, but I kind of wanted him to get beat up. But now Jericho coming out, teasing the feud. That's obviously going to be his next feud. I wonder if it's going to have anything to do with the Owen, because that's supposed to be yearly, and it should be coming up within the next few weeks to a month. So I don't know if that's going to have anything to do with it, or if they just build into Chris Jericho's feud with Adam Cole. And it's so funny to me because like Chris Jericho is going to go to a feud with Adam Cole, and it's going to be a big feud. But it's like, didn't he just lose a feud? Shouldn't he win a feud before he goes into the next feud? I don't know.
Yeah. JR, you got anything you would like to say?
It's good seeing Adam Cole back. I could tell you, as somebody, I've had a few concussions in my life, and they're not fun. And unfortunately for me, I wasn't an athlete. It just at the caliber of Adam Cole. So when you make your living off being an athlete, and things don't go your way because of concussions, and and we've seen that in the last, I'm trying to think, the last 15 years, all the studies that come out, the seriousness and how they're potential career enders. And we think of talent like Bret Hart, whose career was ended, because of concussions. It's devastating to, and I'm glad that he was able to make a recovery from it. And if anybody ever wants to know if vampires exist, all you have to do is tune on AEW and see Chris Jericho, who just tries to suck the life out of great talent, and now he has his fangs trying to hook into Adam Cole and help Adam Cole beats the living death out of him.
Yeah. All right, and that closed off AEW Dynamite in St. Louis. Real quickly, because like I said, today was also the premiere of AEW All Access. We're not going to go point by point in the show. Just want to get everyone's thoughts on the debut of AEW All Access. Or did you even watch?
I did watch, and I will say probably, I watched it for the show just so I'd have a comment on it, but it was like the longest hour of my life. For all these people that love these shows, enjoy it. It's gonna be beautiful, and it's gonna be whatever you want it to be. But I mean, I like magic, right? And I like magic. And Andy compares wrestling to magic all the time, right? And Andy Nimity on Twitter, but he compares wrestling to magic all the time. And to me, it would be like going to a magic show and be like, "Oh my God, I'm amazed! Oh my God, I can't believe how they do that." And they'd be like, "Okay, hey, stay for an extra hour, and we're going to show you how we did every trick." What? All my amazement's gone. No. What? Why would I do that? So, yes, while I love this show, it's just like, my friends say wrestling, my friends that are, I'm a 40-year-old man, so other 40-year-old people like wrestling's fake. And of course, I know wrestling is scripted. I don't like using the F word, but they say that, right? This show lets you just like, boom, right in your face. It's like this person's like, look, they're friends, right? Look at them. They're about to feud, but they're best friends out and back. No, I don't want to see this. It's not going to be my thing. I would love Austin to keep watching it and filling people in, but yeah, I have my limits.
All right, JR,
if I didn't watch a show about literally one of my favorite humans, Cody, and his family, which I didn't, I think I may have watched 2 episodes. What do you think the chances are of me sticking on this one?
There you go. All right. JR, did you have any thoughts about All Access?
I had a few. One of the things that Floyd said, this is just in general, because I don't think people realize this. And I was thinking about this today because it's something I wrote. Probably before you were born, Austin, because Floyd's obviously older than us, and and I know I'm older than you. I like to go back and watch older wrestling. And if you look at a crowd of wrestling from the 80s and 90s, you see a very older crowd. And for me, when you have that mystique, and as Floyd used the term magic, I think it encapsulated and really kind of brought everybody from all ages into wrestling. When you peel back that curtain, as much as we've done in the last 20 plus years, that's where you get the situation where like, well, wrestling's fake, right? I like literally had this conversation. Like somebody told me the other day, "What, where are you going? You're going to LA for what? Wrestling? It's fake, right?" And I just was like, kind of want to fucking hit you right now, but that's just where we've come to because we've continued to allow this. And I think that magic needs to be restored. The second thing is, and if you ask a lot of people about reality television, they'll tell you reality television is almost as scripted as a scripted television show. So you don't know what's real, what's not, as far as like actual reality. Then you start thinking like, well, are things being done on for a certain, like for storyline purposes? If a wrestler says something about somebody other talent, and so it kind of that in itself, and then I think it also sometimes creates some like a negative environment or negative I think the word circumstances. One of the things that really rubbed a lot of people the wrong way, because I was on Twitter as I was watching the beginning, was just the way that Britt Baker, Tony Storm, and
talking about
Thunder Rosa. And saying, well, she said she's injured, but she can do this and that. Well, it's like, well, okay, but you don't know what. First of all, you don't know how significant her injury is, or you don't know what she can or can't do. And especially, we just talked about Adam Cole's injury. We talked about CM Punk's injury on the show. So it's like, you want to soldier on because you're injured. That's fine. But you also have to look at it from this other person's perspective and situation. I just think it didn't set a good look because, number one, if it is staged, well, this has been going on for a while, like going back to like before All Out, where you've been hearing about this negativity behind the scenes, and so it's making people take sides and say, well, fuck this girl, she's a bitch, or this one is a wimp, right? And then if it is, that's if it's staged. So you're giving this negative look. If it is real, now you're looking. Now it's also bad because it's like, I'm just gonna say this: you have a group of 4 white women who's essentially talking shit about a Mexican minority woman. It's a bad look. So I don't agree. I think it creates a lot of negative. In that particular part, creates a lot of negativity that is unnecessary, especially when your whole show since August has had a lot of negativity about it. So it's not something that I think they should be doing. It's one thing if you want to say, hey, come on, come with us on the road, see how we train and all that. That's one thing. But at the end of the day, as I say all this, we love negativity. What's one of the highest rated televisions in that coveted demographic? Real Housewives. We as Americans, we love some negative drama bullshit.
Yeah. What I will say is, I will say one thing. I'm glad that there's not a shitty Dana White produced show that's going on immediately after Dynamite that we don't have to quickly change the channel for. I will say that. I will say that. I thought it was all right, honestly. I was, of course, uncomfortable with me being a CM Punk fan because of them like hinting at it a little bit early on in the show. But we'll see how this goes. The last AEW reality show, didn't really get too far with the Cody and Brandy shit. We'll see if this one has any more juice to it.
It technically got renewed for a second season. They just left.
Yeah, no, for sure. But I'm talking about just people's interest. That's all I'm talking about. But
I will say real quickly. So, Gross to the Top. I couldn't find the overall, but I think they were doing around 300,000. I think. From what I quickly saw the season finale. Power Slap, your favorite show, Austin, was doing between 220 to 300,000. So it will be interesting how much of the carryover is. I do know that this show was there was a sneak preview over the weekend, so I don't expect the ratings to be that high. One of the things that Floyd will tell you, me naturally after shows, I just leave the TV on unless I know I'm going to watch something else. Like, even when we watch Raw, Floyd would be like, are you watching Chrisley Knows Best? I'm like, shit, I just left it on for 20 minutes. I have no idea.
Yeah. Yeah. No, fair enough. But yeah, so like I said, I'm interested at least to see what type of shit they're going to show. We'll see exactly what the thing is. I know they hinted on possibly showing, fallout between Eddie Kingston and Sammy Guevara's fight that was heavily publicized. So we'll see exactly what route they decide to go with the show. I will at least pay attention a little bit, but I'm not sure if I'll be able to go through. Like I said, I forgot that it was an hour-long show, and you could feel that it was an hour-long show because honestly, kind of was just like, man, all right, cool, all right, we're in the soup now. But regardless, that's all of AEW from tonight. For Rampage on Friday, we're gonna have Juice Robinson versus Action Andretti, Talia Valkyrie versus Marina Shafir. The Kings of the Black Throne will be going in tag team action against the Best Friends. And Sammy Guevara is going to face Konosuke Takeshita, which that alone is going to sell Rampage for me because that match I think could be fucking sick if given a little bit of time. So I will say that.
Yeah, looking forward to that show. Unfortunately, me and JR will be at Super Card of Honor because it's going up against each other.
Yes,
we'll be Super Card of Honor. So we won't probably watch the show until we get back. But it's definitely just for Sammy versus Takeshita. And honestly, if I was going to say I had a tag team in AEW that I root for other than FTR, it would be Kings of the Black Throne. I just Brody and Malachi just look like a group that, I think could be a formidable tag team. They could put on some great matches with other people. So I am really excited about seeing them wrestle in that match also.
Yes, but like what Floyd said, though, Ring of Honor, Super Card of Honor, WrestleMania weekend. Huge card. We got a lot of things to look forward to. We're going to real quickly preview the show and kind of give some predictions, I would like to say. First up on what we got the Embassy. We got Brian Cage and Gates of Agony teaming up to face AR Fox, Blake Christian. And you have AR Fox listed on here twice, bro.
I do.
What the fuck are you doing?
Yeah, Grand Metalik or Metalik. I think he's just Metalik.
Yes.
Yeah, it's the.
I think he's just Metalik. Yeah.
It's the most hodgepodge group of people ever. So that's why I got confused. I was like, because it's like even when you watch the show, you're like, why are these people tagging up? Like I watch ROH and I still don't know why these three men.
This feels like a buy-in match for sure. That like I feel like people will just be like, we'll see if they do cool moves, but you'll probably give it to the Embassy.
Yeah.
Because at least it's a group of people that people know.
Correct.
Well, actually,
go ahead.
Quickly though, if I'm not mistaken, according to rumors, Brian Cage is on his way out. His contract is up, and he agreed to stay through Supercard. So we may see a title change because I don't think he's resigning with, as I like to call it, Tony Khan Enterprises.
Okay, well, we'll see if that's the case. So are you gonna go with AR and Blake Christian? And
absolutely. If one of the three men is leaving, I don't expect them to retain the titles.
Okay,
I am going.
All right,
I'm going with the Embassy because
I will go along with Floyd.
I think they're going to try to get Brian Cage to stay. I think they're going to be like, please stay, please.
Okay.
All right.
Well, then we'll have the Ring of Honor television title between Samoa Joe, the champion, and Mark Briscoe. Honestly, because Mark, I feel like in terms of the because I think they're going to want to have Mark Briscoe hold something since he was champion up until the unfortunate passing of Jay. I think this will be Mark Briscoe. I think they'll have him win this. It'll be a real feel-good moment, I feel like. So I'm going to go Mark Briscoe.
I am going to completely agree with you. I mean, honestly, the Briscoes, Mark, and just showing respect and honor for the Briscoes, if y'all heard earlier, it's literally why we plan to go to LA. So I am very much, I'm all about, making sure, giving the Briscoes and them the moment. They have had to go through some stuff that no one should have to go through. So, yeah, Briscoes all the way.
JR?
Yeah, them boys forever, Mark Briscoe.
All right. One-on-one match between Daniel Garcia and Hiroshi Tanahashi. Like, holy fucking shit. Love Daniel, love our boy there, the shit talker that he is. We going Tanahashi over here, boys.
Dude, I imagine for somebody that is just like a wrestler's wrestler, like Daniel Garcia is, this has to be like the ultimate like dream match for him, one of the biggest stars in Japanese history. I think it's just going to be an amazing match. I'm honestly happy for Garcia for getting to perform, but anytime you can see one of the best Japanese wrestlers of the last 20 years in the ring, you're going to be excited. So I'm just excited for the match, but yeah, it's Tanahashi's going over, I believe.
There we go. Then we have the Ring of Honor Women's Championship between Athena and Yuka Sakazaki. First of all, I gotta say here, like straight up right now, I gotta say, honest to God, fucking love Yuka Sakazaki. I love Yuka Sakazaki. I would very much go fucking batshit crazy if that was the case, if we got to see that happen. But I believe Athena will retain. But it would still be a wonderful feeling if that was the way the match went out. But I think it'll be an easy retain for Athena.
Completely.
I agree 100%.
Yeah, Athena, just in her work style, just how you change the way you work can make someone a fan. I just thought she was another person, and she had a really cool finisher. But since she has done the more aggressive style, the more just like, just more asshole and to a better style, it's made her much more intriguing and just this bully type character. Yuka, It's gonna be the perfect foil as far as the speed and the quickness. I am really looking forward to this match, but yeah, Athena all the way.
Yeah. All right. Then the Reach for the Sky ladder match, probably what might be one of the most anticipated matches on the card. This match should be really, really, really fucking special. I'm extremely, extremely excited for this. And this would be for the Ring of Honor World Tag Team Championships. The teams involved, you have the Lucha Brothers, Top Flight, The Kingdom, Aussie Open, and Dralistico and Roosh. I will say this straight up. If the Kingdom win, I walk out. That's what I do. That is what I say. If the Kingdom win, I walk out. Me personally, give it to Top Flight. That is my personal opinion. I would like to see Top Flight win it. Those guys have been working really hard, especially Dante, because Dante's worked a majority of his time in AEW without a fucking tag team partner because of the unfortunate things that has happened to Darius. I think them winning would be fucking awesome. They might be going with somebody that has a little bit more history with the Briscoes, but I will personally say my pick is Top Flight.
I am going with the Lucha Bros. I think you're cycling through who the top teams are in AEW. You kind of cycle through. Lucha Bros are kind of on the down cycle. That being said, you have to sell ROH's TV and pay-per-views.
Fair?
You need a tag team that can draw. You put the Lucha Bros in there, they're a reason to turn on the show. So
yeah, that's absolutely fair.
Yeah. So I got Lucha Bros. JR.
I'm so torn. First of all, I want to say, Floyd told me there's going to be 4 teams in here, and I correctly predicted 4 of the teams. And then I found out they threw a curveball and said, "Oh, we're adding Roosh and Dragalisco." So I was not. So I did say Aussie Open was going to be in here because they were free agents, and I think they could do something. God, I'm so torn.
That's who I want to win. If you're asking me who I want to win, Aussie Open all day.
Fair enough.
Aussie Open. It's not even close. I love that tag team. I think, if you're saying, "Hey Floyd, who's your next team after FTR?" It's Aussie Open. They are it. So
yeah, I'm gonna go with Top Flight, and for the reason being is when I'll say this quickly, Tony Khan, when he bought Ring of Honor, the first thing I thought about was this should be a hybrid between a normal wrestling company and a developmental territory. And I said, Top Flight has, they should not be in AEW because they're never going to get a chance to get the opportunity to get a run because they're so young, but you need to do something to give them television exposure. And they are specifically made for what the new vision of ROH is, to be able to get out there, get storylines, put on great matches, get a run with the championship, and then eventually go back to AEW, essentially using ROH as an excursion. So I'm gonna go with Top Flight because I think it's their time to get that run.
Okay, there we go. We have then El Hijo del Vikingo versus Commander for the AAA Mega Championship. For everyone who is a fan of Vikingo, going into after seeing him and Kenny Omega tear the fucking house down, you get more of him. And this is going to be fucking stellar. I think because of how much hype he has, I think Vikingo retains the title, I think. Because he's got a lot of hype. A lot of people have very much enjoyed what they've seen in the sample size with Kenny Omega. And I think it makes sense for him to retain. So I'm going with Vikingo. Or Vikingo, whatever the fuck you want to call him.
Well, apparently these two like wrestling each other, because the night before they're going to be in a triple threat match on the Supercard honor, and then 20-something days from now they're going to main event a GCW show with these same two people. So that's just hilarious. These two like for wrestling each other. I'm looking forward to the match. It's not Tony's belt, so I don't think there's any way that the Mega title changes hands. JR.
No, I think El Hijo de Vikingo is going to retain in a match that potentially is going to blow the roof off this place, because what both these talents can do, and what they're going to end up doing together, there is not a building that is tall enough to maintain the high aerial moves both these guys are going to bring into this match.
Yeah, it's going to be an unbelievable match. Then Claudio Castagnoli versus Eddie Kingston. So that is going to be a fucking banger too. I will also say too, because I forgot to mention this as well with the AEW Dynamite show, with the BCC stuff. When Bryan Danielson turned heel again and attacked Kenny Omega, there's a point in the show where he screams, "You are everything that's wrong with wrestling" at Kenny Omega. Just had to say that because I thought that's a fucking line. And God fucking damn, I just thought that was a fucking barb. And I just totally, it slipped my mind. I wanted to bring it up because that was a fucking line. That being said, BCC member Claudio Castagnoli going up against Eddie Kingston. I love Eddie, love him to death. But the BCC is incredibly hot, and they are really, really doing a bunch of shit. And Claudio, as the Ring of Honor World Champion, I do not see him losing that belt with the BCC being the way that they are. So I say Claudio retains.
I must
go ahead.
I was gonna say I see Claudio retain with some chicanery with his newfound, heel tactics. Or there may be some dirty tactics that go on that will get him to retain the ROH World Heavyweight title over Eddie Kingston.
Yeah, I think that's a fair thing to say as well.
Claudio's the perfect ROH champion. When you're talking about the ROH style and what it means just being a great wrestler, that's what they are, being a great wrestler, putting on great performances. I mean, he's the guy. I mean, if anyone beats him for it should be like Takeshita eventually, but I don't think it's Eddie Kingston. But guess what? I will say this about this. I have not ever, since he joined AEW and got to work the way the site he wants, ever been bored by an Eddie Kingston match. This match is going to bang.
It is going to be awesome. I'm very excited for y'all being able to go see that show, and it's going to be really, really fucking fun to see. But that is our preview for Supercard of Honor.
I think we missed a match.
Have we?
Did we go over Wheeler Yuta versus Shibata?
I did not put it on the list because it wasn't on the ROH wrestling front screen. So no, I did not put it on the list. That is completely on me, and it's the match. It's my number one match. It's the match I'm looking forward to most. Shibata is one of those people that through New Japan, he was one of the first people that really stuck out to me as far as talented people. And, he had a massive head injury that kept him out for a while, and he's been working again. And since then, it's just like, I wanted to see him live, just to be like, hey, I saw him live. And, I see him do the different things. I've seen him, but this is going to be a full match in the pure style with Wheeler Yuta. I think it's going to be fun. And I think Wheeler Yuta's going to win. I'm rooting for Shibata, and it's hard for me to say it.
I feel like that's a lot of us right now. Like I said, again, apologies for forgetting that match. Floyd fucked me over and left me.
Yes, I completely took it. I left it off the thing, and it's so funny. Like I said, it's the match I'm looking forward to the most. If you would have asked me my number one match, I'm going to say Yuta and Shibata. But when I was doing the list, it just blanked out of my head. I don't know why. I'm very excited about this match.
Yeah, no, that match is going to be amazing. Like I said, I was fucking literally when we were at Forbidden Door, I was leaving because, like I said, we were fortunate enough to be able to have a ringside seat that we could switch out with a bunch of our friends and do with a really cool setup that the way Sydney made it happen. I got out of my seat ready to go so somebody else could go. One of our other friends could go sit down to. I think it was Sydney actually getting ready to go see one of the main event matches actually. And as I'm walking up the ramp actually to go get back to my seat, I go and I hear Shibata's music and I turn. And I'm just like, oh my fucking god! And I was just completely taken aback because I was like, there's no way. So this Shibata match against Yuta is gonna fucking slap. Like Floyd said, I'm rooting like hell for Shibata. But like I said, BCC, they're fucking crazy hot right now. And I don't see any of them really taking a hit at least right now. Even against a guy like Shibata, I think Yuta will win, but I'm pulling for Shibata.
Yeah, I agree with you all. I actually have a lot of fondness for Shibata. The first time I ever saw Ring of Honor live was Death Before Dishonor 2016. I kept hearing about this hard-hitting guy from Japan, and he was going up against wrestling's last real man, Silas Young, and they tore that venue down in Vegas. And so to see, especially with the new mean streak of Wheeler Yuta can do, and what Shibata can do, this is another match that I'm really excited for.
All right. Well, now I can say I believe that's all the matches for Supercard of Honor. It's going to be a really good show, I feel like.
After saying that, Tony Khan's going to announce like 3 more tomorrow.
Oh,
right?
no, that's exactly what's going to happen. Yeah, but again, the timing of this show never works out. We always get fucked over. Like I said, as Floyd's like, I'm 100% sure Punk's coming back after that tease. And I'm like, I don't know. And then all of a sudden, Punk goes on Instagram and wants to say shit. So the timing never works out. We always get fucked over. It's what happens with this show, and I can't control it. And it bothers me, but it's what are you gonna do? But we don't really have any much news or notes other than that. Floyd, did you want to say one last thing about your boys, since it's very possible we could be seeing FTR leave AEW next week if they don't beat the Guns?
No. I would, you know what? It's kind of the case. Sometimes you just like to be wrong. You know what I mean? I always say that. And it's like, I've been very clear. I've had no doubt that they were staying with AEW, and no personal information. It's just based on Dax on his podcast saying what he looks forward to in wrestling, what he likes in wrestling, the time with his wife and kids and all that stuff, the schedule that's flexible, being able to work for different companies. I've been very clear that at no point did I think FTR was actually leaving AEW. And it's not because I don't want to be quote unquote worked. It's just literally I listen to people. When people talk, I do this weird thing and I actually listen to them. And it's just like he was telling you what he was doing the whole time. So next week, unfortunately I won't be there before it, but my boys will become the two-time AEW Tag Team Champions, and I'm pretty sure contract extension might get announced right after that match. So I am excited, but if they do lose, I feel like it might be leading to an even more interesting storyline. So that would be cool too. So either way, let's go.
Yes, let's go. But I think that is going to do it for this episode of All Things Elite. First of all, again, JR, it's always a pleasure to have you on. Appreciate you coming on. And I'm very excited for y'all and your trip to LA for WrestleMania weekend. Y'all have a blast. Can't wait to hear about your guys' trip when you guys get back. And I hope everybody at home also enjoys WrestleMania weekend. It is going to be a fun week of wrestling, whether you're a fan of AEW, Ring of Honor, any kind of wrestling, because, of course, WrestleMania weekend provides plenty for you to choose from. And then, of course, Mania itself, where we will hopefully see the prodigal son, Cody Rhodes, get the job done, beat Roman Reigns, and do what he accomplished and set out to accomplish when he and the Bucks started AEW. So it'd be a nice little full circle moment, I feel like. But again, JR, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate you having you on every single time we get you.
It's always a pleasure.
Yeah. Well, we'll close things out real quick. I know we went a little long. We had a lot to cover. But please make sure you guys are downloading the show on Google or Apple Podcasts. And if you listen to us on Spotify, wherever you choose to listen to us, give us a share with your friends, family, coworkers, whoever you wish. And you can also leave a rating and a review. It really helps out the show as well. It gets us up in the mentions and all that kind of jazz. And you can follow us on Twitter at ATElitePod on Twitter. And that is at ATElitePod at Twitter. I will say that again. At Social Suplex are the guys that make this possible. Check out all the other shows they have on this network. It's special. They got a lot of great shows. I am at Austin Sumowitz, SZUMOWICZ. Floyd is at Floyd Johnson Jr. on Twitter. And I will go ahead and pass it off to Floyd so he can take us home for this episode of All Things Elite.
Yes, 8 years ago, on the 28th, this was Tuesday, I met FTR for the first time. I thought that was a pretty cool moment. I posted about it on my Twitter, but I just thought that was cool because Time Hop is is like my favorite app because it reminds me of stuff I don't remember. So, and I was just going through all my WrestleMania memories for over the last years, and it just made me think that, if you do get the chance to go to wrestling or whatever you're passionate about, imagine it's wrestling. If you're listening to me and my friends talk about pro wrestling on this thing, and you get a chance to go to the shows, you cannot focus. And I have something I had to tell myself just yesterday. You cannot focus on what you can't do. You focus on what you get to do. I've had a very blessed life when it comes to professional wrestling and the shows I've seen. I can say the same thing about JR and Austin, but sometimes in my excitement and in my FOMO, which me and JR have discussed at length how much FOMO causes you to make bad decisions. But you focus on what you can't do. And it sucks that you can't do it. And I'm not saying it doesn't suck in a moment, but if you focus on all the things you get to do, all the experiences you have, all the positives in your life, it will make those momentary setbacks, momentary disappointments feel a lot less bad. Because in the end, you're still going to watch the show. I'm still going to watch the show next week. Still going to watch the show in Toronto. It's just I get to watch it at home with my own snacks or whatever I want to do. So you got to think of the positive. So I will leave you with that. Just focus on the good in life, not on the bad. And I don't mean that in a toxic positivity way. If bad shit's happening, But I'm just talking about missing wrestling shows. So I will leave you how I always leave you, with a special WrestleMania message. Everybody root for the American Nightmare, Cody Rhodes. And whether you are at home, work, or school, always do your best to be elite.